Hi, I'm Neil Kendall, Managing Director of Tuppercoffs, the Independent Financial Planners. This is our next video in our series about internet security, and today I want to deal with two-factor authentication, making sure that people can't access your accounts and making doubly sure. Online passwords are a fact of life these days. You need them for bank accounts, email, social media, your phones. Everything that you do requires an online password. Two-factor authentication is a way of making sure that those passwords are even more secure. With two-factor authentication, typically you'll go to a website, you'll put in your username and your password, and then it will send a message to your phone asking you to verify that it's you. This is a great backup that if someone else tries to access your account, even if they know your username and password, you're going to get a request for a second factor authentication. And obviously that alerts you that someone is accessing your account. And of course you can say no. But it does mean that a hacker with access to your username and password still can't access your accounts. So we think this is really important. And certainly 5 or 10 years from now, everyone will do this. But there's no point waiting until you've got a problem to do it. Best to start now and put it in place. Originally, a password worked fine, but hackers and computer power meant that people could simply apply a computer and say, just spend as much time as you need and try all the combinations that could be this person's password. So as a result of that, there needed to be more complex passwords. And even then, with more and more computing power, the need for two-factor authentication, where just figuring out a password isn't enough, became more significant. The important part of two-factor authentication is the concept of what you know, being your password, and what you have, being your phone. So someone knowing things about you won't give them access unless they can also get physical access to your phone. And we think that's a really important two-step process. So this is why two-factor authentication is such good security. And of course, if you're a hacker, two-factor authentication is incredibly difficult to get around. There are a lot of much easier targets. So that's part of the reason that we recommend two-factor authentication. It makes the house next door look much easier to rob. Two-factor authentication just adds this level of security to your logins. It's available on many websites today. And it uses this concept of a password and something you have. If you don't have both, you can't get in. Again, importantly, you can't get in if you can't access your phone. So it's important to make sure that you do have access to your phone. Without that, you won't be able to get around the system yourself. There are a number of types of authentication. So one is that you just have none. The other is a username and password, and most people are comfortable with that. More and more, we're seeing a username and a unique password plus a text message, which is the next level of security. But that text message is sent to your phone number. And if somebody can convince your phone provider to switch your phone number to their phone, then they can receive that text message. So that in itself is less likely, but still certainly happens. And so not as good as it could be. The next stage is to use a username and unique password plus a phone authenticator. Now, the phone authenticator is unique to your telephone. It means that you can't access that on any other system other than the phone that you have. If you sell or replace your phone, then you have to go through a pretty strenuous process to actually replace all of that. But it is an important level of security. If you're prone to losing your phone, you just might need to think about that carefully before you do it. But for most people who are able to keep track of their phone, the on-phone authenticator is a really good way of making sure that your passwords are secure. You also have the option of adding to that what they call geofencing, which is a system that only allows access in certain geographic locations. So you can restrict access and use of your password to, for instance, only Australia. And that means that people from overseas, even with your password, wouldn't be able to access your websites without them being located in Australia. So that's the ultimate level. For most people, the name, unique password, and the phone authenticator is a very good level of security. when you use this, you'll get through a number typically that you then key into the website that enables you to access that. And what you can see here is the Google Authenticator that just shows a number, and that number changes every minute. So it's a good system, and you can store multiple sites on here. So Google Authenticator is a free application from Google that you can use that is unique to your phone and provides this. Most websites that offer two-factor authentication will work with the Google Authenticator. So we think it's a good one to be using. There are websites that will show you how to access Google Authenticator, but the process and the information on Google is generally pretty good to step you through that. Of course, if you've got a problem, let us know. We're happy to step you through, as it's something that we all do in our office ourselves. So we're all familiar with how to do that and how to make it work ourselves. I hope that's been useful in terms of talking about two-factor authentication. Having it on your phone rather than SMS and having it in place does provide you with very strong security, and certainly means that we have to worry less about internet theft of your money. So we would recommend it to you, when we would recommend the Google Authenticator, which you can download for your phone from the relevant app store, depending on the phone that you use, and install it from there. Most websites will then allow you to use the Google Authenticator as the second factor to ensure access. Thanks for your time, and I hope that's been useful.